Dipti Galan joins me for a look through the papers. Hello to you, Dipti.
Hello.
Let's begin in Pakistan, where a general election is underway.
That's right, and we're looking at the front pages of the Pakistani papers. There are no parties expected to get a majority, but they are knife-edge elections. That's according to the Express Tribune on its front page. While Dawn, another Pakistani daily, says it's a nation's tryst with destiny, as over 100 million Pakistanis head to the voting booths or already voting in what's been an electoral campaign marred by violence. In fact, Dawn says that more people have died this time round than in the last polls 5 years ago. And from the same paper, there's an opinion piece in which the writer says that Pakistanis today are voting for a democracy that's tarnished, that's, quote, shorn of its ebullience and optimism, carrying the burdens of war and sacrifice, failure and detriment. Yet it is a democratic system. It's the only one we have, and it's the one that'll guarantee that the votes of millions of people will prevail over the votes of a select few.
OK, well, here in France, Emmanuel Macron has finally broken his silence when it comes to the scandal that's been dubbed Benalla Gate.
That's right, Benalla Gate, the so-called Benalla scandal that broke last week after a video emerged of Alexandre Benalla, Macron's former bodyguard, manhandling a Paris protester back in May. After days of silence, Macron finally spoke yesterday, saying he accepted full responsibility while denying that this is a state scandal. For Le Figaro, the right-leaning paper, the editors there say, finally, it's about time. This is the first step, adding, though, that the question remains now whether it's enough to temper the political storm that's ensued since that video was revealed. Well, Macron says he wants to shake up his government staff, evoking, quote, malfunctions in the Élysée. L'Opinion, the right-wing paper, says, though, that there are those who believe it goes much deeper than just a simple shake-up. After 1 year, the scandal shows really the shortcomings of Macron's management.
All right, well, next, Dipti, just when we thought it couldn't get any more complicated, The Independent has launched a campaign for a new Brexit referendum.
Actually, The Independent and other British dailies today are calling for a campaign, launching a campaign for a second referendum on Brexit. The main reason being that Theresa May's governance has left British politics in turmoil. And as you see on the front page of The Independent there, really, they feel that politicians are just desperately trying to hold on to votes without really having any sight of what Brexit means for the ordinary citizen. In its editorial, The Independent explains that for reasons of sovereignty, the UK should vote again because people should be given the chance to pause and reflect about whether they really want to go ahead with this big decision. All the more so because we now know more today than we did back in 2016 when the Brexit vote took place. For the Daily, it might be just a chance to, quote, provide a new form of healing for a divided nation.
All right, well, today also marks the 40th anniversary of Louise Brown, the first person ever born from IVF technology.
40 years of IVF, and the Daily Mail is paying tribute to her with a throwback of this cover from 1978. The Lovely Louise was called the first ever so-called test tube baby born from IVF technology. Now, The Times says it marks one of the 20th century's greatest medical turning points. IVF started as this sort of fringe experiment that pushed the limits of science and ethics to becoming what it is today, a commonplace reproductive measure. In fact, 8 million people today on Earth were conceived through IVF. And The Times in this article is looking ahead to what IVF could achieve in the future, including 3-parent babies where DNA from a couple is inserted into a third party's egg, where the genetic material has been removed in order to create children free of genetic diseases. The other step for the future could be what they call IVG. This is really complicated. It's where cells are taken from a person's skin or blood and then through science metamorphoses into an egg or sperm later to be used for reproduction.
8 million already. Well, astounding figure there. All right, well, let's head down under, literally, where Australia and New Zealand are sparring over their flags.
Stop copying us. That's a message from New Zealand's acting Prime Minister Winston Peters to Australia. The countries, Australia and New Zealand, are rowing over their flags. Peters says Australia should change its flag because it looks too much like the New Zealand one, which he says was created first. In fact, he's sort of right. The Kiwi flag was adopted in 1902. Australia's flag was adopted in 1954. But an earlier version of Australia's flag was first flown in 1901, so technically the Australians got there first. Anyway, the flags are very similar. In fact, an Aussie TV network mistakenly showed the Kiwi flag this year during an Australia Day special.
Oh, I bet that went down very badly in the newsroom, I can only imagine. All right, and finally from you, Dipti, let's end on a photo of a duck who should be awarded Supermom of the Year.
It's an incredible photo captured by an amateur wildlife photographer, Brent Cizek, on a lake in Minnesota. It was a mother duck caring for 76 ducklings on this lake, as you see them, a part of them in tow behind her. In fact, female ducks usually lay about a dozen eggs and can incubate up to 20. So in this case, we believe that she may have adopted dozens of ducklings who somehow got lost or separated from their birth parents, earning her the title, deservedly so, of Supermom.
So a mother duck with a big heart there, adopting some ducklings. Dipti, thank you very much for our roundup of the press. And to our viewers, don't forget you can always find out more on our website at france24.com, coming up on your screens there.